As the new finance minister, after the resignation of Nhlanhla Nene, continues to pour in. Business Unity South Africa's president, Sipho Pityana, has welcomed Mboweni's appointment. However, he says Nene still has to tell South Africans more detail about his dealings with the controversial Gupta family and his stint at the PIC, or the Public Investment Corporation. Now, to continue that conversation, including the conversation around the resumption of the state capture inquiry this morning, we welcome in the studio Khaya Sithole, who is I always struggle in terms of defining. But thank you so much for coming through. Just the thought process of State President Cyril Ramaphosa in terms of how he's going to make his decisions and the other forces that stand against the decisions that he wants to make. Take us through his thought process.
I would think, in particular, in relation to what happened yesterday, he really would have been looking for somebody whose transition into the finance ministry would be as less disruptive as possible. And of course, his immediate focus area would have been within the NEC itself, to say who within the NEC could possibly step up. And unfortunately, there aren't too many candidates within the current NEC who literally had enough gravitas to be able to walk into the finance ministry and say, I know how to deal with these things. And of course, Tito Mboweni essentially became the natural choice when you look at who exactly exists in the current NEC. And I think, of course, we should be grateful that a person like Tito Mboweni will take up such a role, because I think what makes him unique is that, obviously, having been the governor of the Reserve Bank for such an extended period of time, he has a very intimate understanding of how finances work and financial governance works. And I think what also makes his appointment quite important is that he would have had, in his capacity as the governor of Reserve Bank, various interactions with multiple stakeholders. So when you talk about ratings agencies, he knows exactly what it is that they're looking for and the types of conversations that they want to be having with him. If you're talking about institutions like the BRICS Bank, the World Bank and the IMF, these are institutions that he's going to be very comfortable having conversations with. So I do think that we've actually been able to get somebody who has the best credentials from the existing NEC. You
say it all bear fruit, but just 2 days ago, the IMF in Indonesia announced that they're revising down South Africa's economic growth prospects. What can he do in the supposed 7 months that he will be in this position?
The bigger problem, of course, is that at the end of the day, it is not really important who the identity of the finance minister is if you don't fix the economic fundamentals that are necessary for you to achieve a particular level of growth and also deal with the big issues that South Africa faces with now poverty, inequality and unemployment have reached crisis levels. And I think for me, it's really a matter of he now needs to go in there and identify what initiatives have already been piloted, what initiatives are in the pipeline, and then go and communicate this to the bigger audience out there and say, look, as the Ministry of Finance and as the country and as the government, these are the things that we're putting into motion so that we achieve those particular outcomes.
What do you think are the immediate achievables?
I think if you look at what happened at the Job Summit last week, there were particular commitments, there were numbers that we heard. 275,000 jobs is what the government is aiming for. But I think also, quite importantly, the investment summit that is coming up at the end of this month is going to be a key stakeholder conversation, because obviously at that point in time you want to know how much money is going to be made available for things to start being initiated in the economy. So if we then say that we need to grow particular industries, these are the industries that are going to absorb the jobs that we spoke about at last week's Job Summit. So I do think that we should all be paying careful attention to what happens at the investment summit at the end of the month.
I found something on the net and I thought it was interesting. The Methodist Church of Southern Africa has come out to congratulate the president on this appointment.
That's
and
unusual.
I thought that was an interesting quarter for commentary to come from.
Yeah, but I think also you will have seen even the opposition parties are saying, no, this is a good appointment, because I think in spite of what our political leanings and what our political affiliations might be, we all have a common interest in ensuring that the country's finances are actually run properly. And I think the fact that we've had 3 finance ministers just this year alone is the type of disruption that is in nobody's interest. So I think that obviously the Methodist Church probably also thought about the same thing, to say, well, actually let us all lend support to this particular appointment, because we really need some stability.
We're talking to Khaya Sithole, and we're just trying to unpack the appointment of Tito Mboweni as the new finance minister, but also looking forward to the Raymond Zondo inquiry. But political parties and other stakeholders have welcomed the appointment of the former Reserve Bank Governor Tito Mboweni.